Now that we have the C8 ZR1 that is making an astonishing 1,064 horsepower, the next model to look forward to is the ZORA, which is suspected now to be making 1,224 horsepower. Now before we get into specifics on how we got to those numbers, if you're new here, my name is Kevin and we talk all things automotive here. So make sure you hit that subscribe button to follow along. Now Corvette Blogger has been a very reliable source when it comes to Corvette news and information. And their detectives over there have written up a nice little article on the details that we have from the ZR1 and how they're being implemented into the ZORA model. More specifically, how they're going to take the E-Ray technology and combine that with the ZR1. Now, the E-Ray that they have now, I feel, was kind of like a building block and an experiment to building the ZORA. They took the standard Stingray, put an all-wheel drive system in it with an electric motor up front, making Z06 power. And with the all-wheel drive system, it actually ran, I think, the 0 to 60 a tenth faster than the Z06. But now if we take that same technology from the E-Ray, the electric motor, and the all-wheel drive system and put it into the ZR1, that's going to be an absolute beast. Now, again, Corvette Blogger's written this article up, giving us some very specific numbers and details. So let's go to what they're saying. And that is that when you combine the ZR1's 1,000 horsepower, or 1,064, sorry to be more specific, with the 160 horsepower electric motor that's in the E-Ray, that gives us 1,224 horsepower. And the torque from the electric motor is 125. Adding that into the 828 from the ZR1 gives us a grand total of 953 pound-feet of torque. That's with no additional tuning, nothing else done to the engine, just the electric motor. Those are the numbers we're looking at. Now, obviously, I think they're going to tweak and tune it just a little bit more. We could be closer to 1,300 horsepower. That would be phenomenal. All-wheel drive Corvette making 1,300 horsepower. It's going to dominate on the track. It's going to dominate 0 to 60. I mean, I don't see a lot of other supercars that would even come close to this. Not for the price range anyway. We start talking Conan Sags and things like that, it's a whole different ballgame. They're hypercars. But then again, I mean, I don't know what category a ZORA would fall under, but with all those add-ons, we also have to consider weight, because they're saying all that weight from the E-Ray could be an additional 300 pounds, bringing the ZORA up to about 3,970 pounds. That is a pretty heavy car. 4,000 pounds for a supercar is extremely heavy. Now, granted, the horsepower to weight ratio is still really good, but that's a heavy car. But let's be honest, the Z06 isn't really that light of a car either, coming in at 3,760 pounds. But even with all that weight, it's still a pretty good horsepower to weight ratio, because Corvette Blogger did the calculations and they're saying that it's 3.24 pounds per horsepower. That's pretty good. I would love to see that sucker launch. Now you compare that to the 3.44 from the ZR1 and the 5.27 in the Z06. So even at 3,900 and what they say 70 pounds, it still has the best horsepower weight ratio of all the models across the board. Now again, this is just speculation on what the ZORA model could very well come out to be, but it's sound numbers. I mean, all-wheel drive hybrid system is already there in the E-Ray. They've already taken all that technology, put it in the Stingray, and look what they came up with. You take that, you just shift it over to the ZR1. I see no reason to why they can't do that and make it the ZORA model. Add a little bit of tuning, maybe 1,250, possibly 1,300 horsepower. I don't think that's unheard of, because most turbo engines leave a lot on the table. They tune them very safe. So maybe if they tweak this a little bit more, get a little more tuning out of it, I don't think 1,250, even 1,275 is a far cry for what the ZORA could be. Let me know what your thoughts are down below of the ZORA model. What could they be doing with it? Do you think they'll combine the E-Ray technology with this one? What are your thoughts on the ZR1 as it sits? And before you head out, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like button if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next upload.